She said, all right, I'll go do it. And I didn't know anything about anything. But we came and devotees were chanting, kirtan was going on, and then Rohini Nandan Prabhu gave the lecture. And I thought to myself, this is the first time in my life I've ever heard anything that makes sense. Right? Karma, reincarnation, all those things. So I kept coming back, and Rohini Nandan was so expert. He knew how to engage. He was so enthusiastic, he was so loving, and he knew exactly how to engage, because I was very skeptical, very troublesome, asked a lot of questions and wouldn't accept anything on face value. So he knew I needed to read a lot. So he gave me a service. He had a stack of Back to Godhead magazines. He said, go through these magazines and categorize all the articles for me so that I can know where to find, if I want an article about yoga to preach to somebody, I'll know where. So I read about 20 years of Back to Godhead magazines. By the end I was convinced. But yes, I very soon I started helping, serving the prasadam, and the date halava was just out of this world. I tell you, if you took a spoonful out of the halava, it would fill up with ghee. There was so much ghee in that halava. Each time you took out a spoonful from the pot, the ghee just came back up again. A few plates of that halava. But after I joined, and I was on the Bhakti program, we were in Finchley House. And we used to go to the manor mostly, and then I was sent to the manor to serve. But I always kept thinking, how can I get back to London? I want to be involved in the preaching, you know? And then I was sent to Chaitanya College, and my first thought was, how do you get to London from here? I didn't really appreciate being outside of London. I'm a Londoner, you know? So that's why Radha London Ishwar sent me so far away to learn certain separation. But this temple was such a dynamic place to live. It was, and no matter what service you were doing, you always felt it was a service to Radha London Ishwar. And you did so many, there were so many services. I was a receptionist, I ran the shop at different times, you know, made the gardens, cooked when I didn't know how to cook, I was thrown in the kitchen to cook with the deities. Dress Radha London Ishwar, dress Jagannath, dress Kornitai, Arati, so many services, helped in the restaurant. There was just so many different services, and it was always an exciting thing being here, you know. There was always an adventure going on, you know. So, and then Sarvamangala and Bhagavata Shai came here, and Sarvamangala, I consider her one of my dearest friends, but she was also like a mother to me, you know, and Bhagavat was like a father to me. And relatively speaking, since I've become, since I came to Krishna consciousness, I spent a relatively small amount of time here before I moved away. I live in the West Indies now, in Trinidad. But Radha London Ishwar still, I always feel that they are overseeing my life, that they are always taking care of me. They're always making arrangements to, just help me along in my consciousness, even though I'm so far away from them, you know. And I know Sarva said I was Jagannath Pujari. Well, I did learn turban making. Sarva Mangala is the most amazing turban maker. Remember the feathers?
Yeah.
I love those feathers. You know, it has the big feathers, like a chevalier kind of feathers on Jagannath, and Subhadra with her boa, the feather boas.
Oh, okay.
But Leela Shakti very, very kindly taught me to dress Radha London Ishwar. And for me that was like the pinnacle of my time here, to be able to dress Radha London Ishwar. It was the most amazing. Mercy, it didn't last very long. Things in my life changed. I moved away. But I came back for a few months, in the late 80s, and Vilasini Prabhu was kind enough to also allow me to engage in serving his deities, because anybody who's lived here or served Radha London Ishwar, you know that they touch your heart so deeply. They take control of your life, and they fulfill your desires. They help you along in Krishna consciousness. They never forget you. They never let go of you. They're always there guiding your life in Krishna consciousness. So I didn't think I was going to be able to get back here. I was here very fortunately for the 40th anniversary. And I said at that time I have to be here for the 50th. So I planned and I saved, and then earlier this year it seemed that I wasn't going to be able to come. And I just kept saying, if Radhaland and Ishwar want me to be here, I'll be here. And then all of a sudden some things changed, and they're so kind. I am so, unqualified to be here. I didn't know I was going to be speaking. Sarvamangala threw me in at the deep end. And but I'm so glad that I'm able to offer some praise of them and appreciation of them. And you're all so fortunate to be here. I will be leaving next week, and I'll be back maybe in a few years, but you can come all the time and take darshan of Radhaland and Ishwar and do a little service for them, and always be under their shelter. So never ever take that for granted. It's the most amazing blessing that you can have in your lives, because they will take perfect care of you. And their devotees, of course, they take care of you through their devotees. They, there's so many wonderful devotees here who have such a lovely service attitude, and they, through them and through their lordships, your lives will become perfect just by coming and being engaged somehow in Krishna's service here. And I think it's wonderful that Jaini Thakur has been the captain of this ship for so many years. I remember when I was here, we went through temple presidents, there were about 6 of them at the time I was here. It's not an easy service. It's a very, very challenging service, and the fact that he's still here doing that service, he must be taking a lot of shelter of the duties to be able to do that, because it's not an easy thing to do. But at the same time, anybody who's able to stay here, and actually this temple was something like a train station at one time. Devotees would come, spend a few weeks, months, days, and then they'd move on. It was a very wonderful place to be, but it was so intense that it really tested your determination. It's noisy, and then in the day, if you can't chant your japa during japa time, like the whole temple is like, it's like, so much things going on, you can hardly find a place to chant concentrated rounds. We used to go to the church across the road in the square to chant our rounds, and there was nobody in there, it was quiet and peaceful. But it was like living in a matchbox, really. There was so much going on here, but still a most wonderful place to live in. Although I left here 35 years ago, I still consider my time here in this temple to be the most exciting, the most wonderful, most formative years of my Krishna consciousness. I thank Radhaland and Ishwar so much for allowing me the mercy to have been here at that time and had the association of these devotees here. Hare Krishna.